And welcome in to PressBox Live. I'm Stan the Fan Charles, and Ross Grimsley has popped off of our screen here, but he'll be back in just a moment. With us tonight on the show is the one and only Hall of Fame, Orioles Hall of Famer, Rick Dempsey. And Rick, I don't know what happened to Ross Grimsley, but we're going to carry on and assume that Ross is going to join us again. I want to remind everybody that we are brought to you each and every Monday evening there he is, by the Costas Inn over on 4100 North Point Boulevard. Great place to go eat your crabs, crab cakes, steaks, salads, whatever you want. But during the pandemic, they upped their game and now have become one of the preeminent carryout places, or you can call it curbside, but they'll have your order ready if you call ahead, 410-477-1975, the Costas Inn. Tell them Ross Grimsley, Stan the Fan, and even Rick Dempsey told you to stop by. Ross, good to see you again. Let's get right
Everything's good, buddy.
Let's get right to it. Rick, last week we had on our managing editor, PressBox, and helped him sort of go on the story. It's called It Takes a Leader, and it's about Adley Rutschman. And so many times when you hear about an everyday player everybody wants to talk about what he can do offensively for the team. Well, no kidding. I'm not insulting you. You weren't a Hall of Fame capable baseball hitter in the major leagues. You were solid. But Adley Rutschman can do a lot of the things that you did for the pitching staff and the overall defense and mental alertness of the ball club. Can't the catcher do that as kind of the leader on the field?
Oh, absolutely. I think one of the things that really Major League Baseball and most of the teams that I watch, and I do watch quite a few ball games, is that they've totally forgot that there's a defensive side to the position. They look for players that can hit the ball and not necessarily help a pitching staff. When you really have an effect on, let's say, 13 or 14 people on your ball club, the pitching staff and the starters, the bullpen and the starters, is that you really need to focus a lot on the defense if your team is going to get better and get into a playoff situation. Now I see a lot of things that are happening at the major league level that are totally against all the principles that we learned, back in the late 60s when I first broke in. All the things they were teaching me, they don't teach anymore. And that's how to set up and how to give a good low target, how to frame pitches. They call framing a pitch isn't this where you just pull the ball over from the outside corner, but actually to softly give and bring the ball from the pocket back into the strike zone. But then there's those two. You see a lot of catchers going to one knee nowadays, and you're inviting.
Rick, excuse me for one second. I have another word for pitch framing. It's called cheating.
Cheating. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's actually what it is. It's trying to take a pitch that's on the outside of the strike zone and make it appear to the idiot behind you, and I'm being facetious, the umpire, like that he doesn't know your pitch framing,
Well, it's not that you are cheating. I don't think that's the word that you'd really want to use there, but you're trying to get the umpire to see it differently. Not by cheating, but because he gets to see what your hands are doing. In the old days, the umpires that saw you when you tried to catch a ball outside and then move it into this, they automatically didn't get it to you.
But if you catch a ball that's a strike, you don't see the glove move because it's a strike.
Because
you see it move when it's a ball.
No, what you want to do is you want to enhance the umpire to call that pitch a strike, because you want trying to make that one that's right on the corner look like it's better than that. Yes. So, but you're doing everything you can to help your pitching staff get those strikes, get in better situations, put the hitter in a pitcher's count instead of a hitter's count. And that's just the way that you try to orchestrate your game. But
so I'm going to before I lead you over, and Ross is going to ask you a couple of questions. I got to ask you, the Orioles, let's not make any, no bones about it. They had terrible pitching the last 3 years since Mike Elias got here. They also were horrible the last year Dan and Buck were here in 18. So they've had horrible pitching, but the catchers were Pedro Severino, Chance Cisco, and a couple other guys. I can't remember who they were the last couple of years. How much can that impact how absolutely horrible the pitching has been? Because this year they got two guys that clearly can hit, but they know a little bit about catching, Robinson Chirinos
Yeah.
and this kid Ben Boom. And all of a sudden, the pitching doesn't look half bad.
No, it doesn't. I mean, yes, they have improved overall game calling and situational pitching, but let's take a half a step back. What you were just saying, that we had horrible catching and horrible pitching. Something you never know, Stan, because what happened in Major League Baseball is they're getting rid of the people with the experience that know what to teach catchers and pitchers and how to orchestrate them to work on their own to find a way to fit in at the major league level. We have not had the proper kind of instruction from qualified veteran players that know what to tell most of the players when they're coming to the big leagues. They have not had that. We have not had a roving catching instructor in the Oriole organization for quite a while. We haven't had qualified people teaching them how to catch. I liked Cisco, a pretty good contact hitter. And, had we taught him properly how to react to the ball behind home plate, he might have been a whole lot better than what we have today. You just don't know. I know the first couple of games that I saw him catch pop-ups right behind home plate. He never went out in front of home plate, turned around, and let the ball come back to him. Nobody explained to him what the ball was doing, and so he loses 3 of the first 4 pop-ups. Those are important outs to pitchers. Just ask Ross if you don't believe me. Outs, easy outs like that, you should get. But if you haven't been taught that, then what else have you not been taught? The most important part of the game for me is setting up behind home plate, being able to block and throw from one position, be able to good target the pitchers, and then develop that relationship that you were talking about, that Rutschman has a little bit of a reputation for being able to have. And I have not heard one catcher in the major league or one organization talk about how well their catching is related to the pitching staff.
Yeah. Well,
Now,
I can see it as clear as day this year that some of the improvement is just simply that our catchers are not letting balls that they should catch get past them. Ross, go ahead. I know you have a couple questions.
Dipper, I know I'm going to go back to what we were talking about earlier with the pitch framing. I mean, I know back when we played, if you pull the ball in like the little leaguers do, like they're doing now, the umpire would be up your butt. Don't you ever do that again. He'll never get a strike. But I mean, really, that's what the umpires.
You're right.
You're making a fool out of them. I mean, it's where the ball crosses the plate, and that. But seeing, and I think the catchers will get a better chance of getting a low strike by the way you receive it. And I was very fortunate. I threw some to you. I threw some to Bench. I threw some to Gary Carter, Bo Diaz with Cleveland. These guys, and yourself included, knew how to catch. To catch the ball. Catch the ball the correct way. That's the big deal. You don't need to try to steal strikes. But I think the low strike is probably something that you'll get a better chance of getting by the way you receive it and bring it back to you.
Is that not correct? 1,000% right, Ross. You're 1,000% right, because you see these guys catch a ball outside and then they're moving the target a whole glove and a half back into the strike zone.
Ridiculous.
Okay. Yeah. When you catch a ball, and you learn this, and I'm going to go another step in just a minute. I'm going to go another place. But as soon as you catch it softly. You give a little bit, you let it pop into the glove here, but by the time you just softly bring it back a couple of inches into the strike zone, you're just bending your wrist. You're not waving your hand over here. It's just the softness that you have catching the ball, and then the ball pops in your glove, and it sounds like it's 110 miles per hour.
Which we love to hear.
And the pitchers always feel good when they hear that pop.
Right.
You don't hear a pop anymore. There's no pop. There's a thud. Sounds like you at night at about 3:00 in the morning.
Bouncing off a wall. Hey, the other thing, buddy, I want to talk about too. Also, is the what they call it, the pitch comm. They got the headphones in the pitcher, the infielders, and God knows who else. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh my God! I've seen it the last couple of games where a guy actually took this thing out of the rim of his hat, he put it back in, and everything.
Right.
And now I understand. I couldn't quite figure out are they relaying the pitch, because the guy goes to his wrist and he presses all the buttons, and then, well, I didn't see the pitcher go yes or no. Can you imagine that if I called a curveball or a changeup for Palmer, he would just shake me off? No,
Right.
no. Well, how do you know that he really does want to throw that pitch? You don't know yet, still, but no.
And
It's
who's
very
calling the
different,
pitch?
and
That's the other thing.
Way too sophisticated.
Oh.
Yeah.
The other thing is the one knee catching. Now, where did this come from, and what is the reasoning behind it? Because we see a lot of balls go to the backstop.
Oh, I know, and that hurts a pitcher so much, because if I couldn't block the ball for you, if I couldn't receive it properly, you would go to the manager and say, "Listen, Earl, I don't want Dempsey catching me, because half the balls go to the backstop." A guy gets on base with a bloop to right field, and 2 pitches later, he's standing on third, and I can't make a mistake, and I know that isn't going to happen, blah, blah, blah. That's why we took that position, and how you receive a baseball and how you set up. You're always ready in 2-strike situations to block the ball, so that third strike doesn't get by you, and a guy gets an easy base for nothing. You don't miss a ball that is close for you to catch. You just let it hit you instead of swiping at it, because a guy goes into scoring position. Now you're in trouble. The pressure goes right to you, Ross, on the mound. You can't make a mistake now. Half the time when you say, okay, listen, he's only on first base, just keep the ball down. If they get a base hit, he isn't going to score. Well, okay, knowing that confidence, it really helped you make better pitches. Instead of that stress that all of a sudden you're feeling when a man's on third base for no reason at all, and now you're fighting because you're the one that's going to get that L at the end of the game, and then your salary and your duration in the major league depends on what those statistics are at the end of the season. So we had to work together. But I said something that today I tell every general manager that I meet and that I talk to, I said, listen, let me give you one little bit of advice. Those 2 or 3 guys that you just signed to go and catch bullpens all the time for your starting catchers, I said, you could fire those guys, because they're costing you the pennant. And I'll tell you why. Because if you got your starting catcher and your backup catcher out there working with those guys, every time they go to a bullpen to work on a curveball slider, then the catcher that's going to be in the game is going to know exactly how big your curveball is. In your case, it was exactly how much your ball sunk when you loaded them up with a little sweat.
That's a secret, man. That's a secret.
That's a secret sauce.
You know exactly where to give the target now, where you want the ball to end up in the strike zone. So yeah, I know it's hard, and I used to get pissed too, and I don't blame them to have to put in all that extra work with those guys, but it pays off. It pays off at the end of ball games when you know exactly where Ross Grimsley, Jim Palmer, Flanagan, McGregor, all of them, Steve Stone, Boddicker, he knows exactly where the ball's going to end up. And when you get that pitcher out there and you've developed a release point with him, the game goes in warp speed. You go through 2 or 3 innings like it was nothing out there. And there's nothing a pitcher likes better than low pitch innings and being able to go deep in a ball game, because then he feels like his worth and value to the ball club is a lot more than everybody thinks.
Hey, the story is It Takes a Leader. It's by Luke Jackson, our managing editor of PressBox. It's about the impact that Adley Rutschman's passion for catching could have on the staff. And Rick, one of the examples we used in the story, Luke talked to you and he talked to Steve Stone. And Stone told him before he talked to you, Stone said, when I first got to Baltimore, Dempsey came out to me at a key moment in the game and said, don't be afraid to throw your curveball with a man on third. That's your best pitch. Don't be afraid to throw it, because unless you throw it over my head, it is not getting by me on the ground.
Well, you got to add one thing to that, Stan.
Go ahead.
I told him, don't be afraid to throw your curveball in the dirt.
In the dirt. Right. That's
I
a better way to
guarantee
put it.
you right now, the computer's not telling you this, but it's the batting average on guys trying to throw high fastballs by hitters is going to be a
Right.
whole lot higher than trying to hit curveballs in the
It's
dirt.
in the dirt. Right.
And
Okay.
that's what Steve said. I said, Steve, you've got to learn to pitch out of the strike zone and when to pitch out of the strike zone. When you're ahead in the count, 2 strikes, and you got a runner on third base, nowadays, you don't see any pitchers, not one, that'll throw a curveball in the dirt on purpose.
Yeah, because their catchers set
Because
up.
their
to get-
catchers are not even
go
in a
straight,
position
right.
to block it. You're right.
Yeah.
They're on
Yeah.
one knee. They'll
So-
swipe at it.
So that impact that you had on, and I won't give all the credit to you, but the impact you had working with Steve, and I guess Ray Miller had something to do with it too, but they didn't teach Steve Stone a new curveball when he came to Baltimore. So the
No.
impact the catcher has can be rather dramatic, because you took, and this is no knock at Steve Stone, he was pretty much a journeyman pitcher when he got to Baltimore, who had an excellent curveball, but you helped him become a Cy Young Award winner.
Boddicker, Flanagan, McGregor, we all worked together and we all realized when we wanted to throw the curveball in the dirt, they trusted me. They knew I was never, ever going to let that ball get by me, especially when I knew it was coming like that. You know, it's not like a fastball that a guy throws wild. You can't always get in front of those. But when you know the curveball's coming, you got plenty of time to see that ball all the way till it bounces, use your right or left shoulder, do whatever you have to do to knock that ball down. But when you can get ahead of hitters and start working out of the strike zone and still get them out, then you know you got something. Now, there was some other things too. With Flanagan, Boddicker, McGregor, Steve
Dennis.
Stone, I used to go like this when I come out. I'll just show you my hand. And when I reach out like this and go like this, they knew that it meant drop down sidearm curveball. I said, just drop down on a hitter. You only do it once, maybe twice in a game, but it's always in a situation when the game was on the line and you needed a strikeout or a bad swing, because the hitters never expected guys like that to drop down sidearm. And we worked on that.
Yeah.
And it got him through a lot of ball games. Now, Steve Stone was a sub 500 pitcher till he came to Baltimore. And then he really learned how to pitch. He knew how to throw the ball over. He had a good curveball, but he can't win those 1 and 2 run ball games unless you got a little something different, you know?
Yeah.
And
he also was helped. He was also helped by great Oriole defense on the whole team. But
we worked on defense and the fundamentals of defense, and you know, how important is the double play, Ross Grimsley? Holy smoke. Every pitcher loves those to get themselves out of trouble and get out of innings, you know? So if they don't work on that double play and you got guys out there dropping routine ground balls, man, it's going to be a long day for you.
So let me go back to Rutschman for a second.
Yeah.
I've seen him. I saw him play one game last year at Bowie, and he was catching Grayson Rodriguez, who's arguably the best pitching prospect in the game.
Yeah.
Not just the Orioles' best. And after every inning, Rutschman was meeting him at the first baseline as he was coming back, and he was pumping him up. He was talking to him. How much talking do you think Chance Sisco and Pedro Severino had with their pitchers? I don't mean to be making fun of them, but they didn't have anything to say. A big zero, correct?
2 of them, just like they did at first base, every 0. No, if you you have to communicate with your pitching staff. You know, it doesn't mean that Ross Grimsley is in love with me and needed me to be back there. Whatever catcher was in the game now, I'm sure he had better relationships with guys before I got there and stuff, but you got to be able to communicate. And when you just throw a suggestion out, catchers can't say too much. I can't tell Ross Grimsley how to throw a two-seam fastball. I can't tell him how to hold his curveball. I can tell him speed up. I can tell him to make a better turn, you know, and things like that might help him. You throw everything out there for him. When he makes a good pitch and you meet him at that first baseline, you say, that was perfect, stay there, and we'll be in good shape. And, you know, and build their confidence every way you can.
I saw yesterday at the end of the game, the second game of the doubleheader, Dylan Tate. I don't know that either of you saw it, but he absolutely blew the last hitter away to come away with the victory. And
Yeah.
Robinson Chirino came out and met him at the mound and sort of hugged him. And you could see he was saying, that's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. And I think that kind of communication is invaluable. Ross,
It
go
is.
ahead.
You're absolutely right. You take every opportunity to let your pitcher know he had a great inning, he made great pitches, and this is how we want to, you know, do the rest of the game. This is how we want to continue forward, moving forward.
Rick,
And they love that.
I liken it to a jockey riding a horse, that the catcher goes out, and if the horse needs a little going to the whip, you know to go to the whip. So sometimes you're not just complimenting him, you're saying, hey, I need you to pick up the pace a little bit.
So speaking of the whip, let's go back to Oakland. Mike Davis is hitting. Sammy Stewart is on the mound, and it's the first hitter of the inning. And I called for a fastball down and away. Sammy didn't want to throw it. I said, geez, you've been throwing great. You know, throw me the damn fastball and let's get ahead of this guy. He says, no, I don't want to throw it. I said, throw the fastball, Sammy. He says, okay. You know, Sammy, when he gets mad, you don't want to get too close. Stay within arm distance away. So he threw that fastball on the outside corner, and Mike Davis hit it off the right center field wall for a stand-up triple. And I've never seen Sammy more angry with me than he was that time. So I went to the mound. There's not much I can do to defend myself. I just said, he says, I told you I didn't want to throw that fastball. I knew he wouldn't hit my curveball. I'll throw left-handed, right-handed. I don't care. I want to throw the curveball. I said, well, you know what, Sammy? I said, he hasn't scored yet, has he? And I walked away. In 9 pitches, he blew the next 3 hitters away. 3 straight strikeouts in 9 pitches. That's a true story. And he got through there. We got into the clubhouse. Sammy was saying, well, I guess you were right. That's all I had to do was just throw that fastball. I just need to get a little angrier. That's all. I'm sorry.
Ross, go ahead.
That's the
Those are
accent
some
too.
beautiful days.
That is
Those
the
are some
accent.
beautiful days.
That's his cousin. That was his cousin.
You made a great,
Yeah,
you made a great comment a minute ago with the catchers, your starting catcher, backup guy, catching the guys in the pen. That's something that you don't see. You saw that fading away over the last couple of years, and I think that's really a big
Quite
problem.
a few years. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, getting back to the you know, turning double plays, making the play, making routine plays. With the shift, the guys are so out of position. And the other thing that, and I talked about this in the past, a lot in the minor leagues, they don't work on the field like they used to. Now, I don't know so much. I imagine it's similar in the big leagues, but there are some teams that do. But there's not a lot of work done on the field. It's more analytics, more computer generated. But being on the field, doing stuff like we used to do, it's not done anymore. And again, turning double plays, you got the guys in shifts, people playing all over the field. They don't know where to go. All you got to do is watch a game.
Yeah,
You watch
I
a
do.
game.
I'm so frustrated with it myself. Now, listen, there is a place in baseball for analytics. That's fine.
Right.
Tell me all the stats you want to tell me. I use Jim Palmer for that. to get my analytics most of the time from Palmer, because he always knew exactly how to throw every hitter. Whether he did it or not, whatever. He was pretty darn good. But the thing is that the computer will give you all of the numbers after the game is over.
Right.
But what happens in game situation, when you got a runner, all of a sudden, okay, he gets a single, he goes to second base on a wild pitch. Now, where do you want to make that next hitter hit the ball? You want him to hit it to left field, and preferably on the ground, because you don't want an easy ground ball to the right side and enable him to get to third base with less than 2 outs. Okay. Right. So you remember, these are principles of the game. Analytics doesn't tell you that. How do you adjust to the hitters in game situation that don't have that on the computer? When the analytics, they don't have a button you can click the mouse on that says game situation. No way. I mean, so you're out there thinking, oh yeah, I can throw this high fastball if I want in a 2-strike situation to this guy, but this gorilla's up there, and if he hits it 250 feet in the outfield, the runner scores. It was a God-blessed pop-up. But a curveball in the dirt, you might have got him to swing at it, and you have a strikeout instead. So there's a lot of different gamesmanship and things that you have to use that we use. How about just plain old shaking your head? How about Tanner Scott and Seager, bases loaded? He's got the game in his hand. He throws a fastball, and Seager jumps all over the place. I said, holy smokes. He throws another slider, and he's up 2 strikes and no balls on Seager. Now, what would you have done? I would have shaken my head and thrown the fastball up under his chin. Okay, right. Now you move him off the plate a little bit, right? Now, if you go back and you shake your head again, and then maybe even step off and go, damn it, I want that fast. You shake your head a second time, and boom, you throw a slider down the middle of the plate. He ain't swinging at it because he thinks he's going to get that fastball up under his chin again. They just go out there and go, okay. Well, he threw another slider after the second strike down the middle. Seager hits to right center field, a double, 3-run score, and you lose the ball game. But not saying that he couldn't have done it a different way, right? But he would have given himself a whole lot more options by just simply going, no, I don't want to throw that. Nope, I don't want to. Okay, now boom, and throw the slider. And then when you put a second thought in that hitter's mind, it slows his bat down that much. And that's all you need.
Well, you got to make sure that button they're pushing when you start shaking, that may cost some time right there. I'm not really sure how you.
Well, that's where the catcher and the pitcher have to work together. They don't have one of these shake your head buttons on your forearm. No. Curveball, slider, shake your head, don't shake your head, double shake, whatever. They don't have that on that thing.
Have you guys seen this video that's making the rounds now? In the minor leagues now, they got the pitch clock.
Right.
And there's a certain amount of time that the batter is given to get back into the batter's box. Like Mike Hargrove would have been called out all the time. Remember with his twitching the thumb and moving his gloves. Well, this batter the other day on a 2-2 pitch, he was over 8 seconds getting back in the batter's box, and the umpire said strike 3. Did you see that, Rick?
Yeah.
No, I don't get to watch much minor league baseball.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
I tell you, it's
the
pitch clock. I don't think the pitchers realize that the quicker they work, the more defensive the hitter becomes, and the better your defense is ready to make plays for you. I think that I think they just I don't know why they don't realize that, but a pitcher that took a lot of time to me was somebody that wasn't sure what to do,
or what they wanted to do,
and then they okay, well, I'm going to do it. Well, I'm not sure if I should do that. That's just what it seems like now. I know some guys took time and pitched well, but I think the working quick is a bonus for the pitchers, and I don't think they realize it. Probably because they don't have anybody to share that with them.
The best case example is somebody who's slowed down was Don Stanhouse. He was controlling the tempo of the at bat. It was from an intention on his part to keep the batter guessing and impatient. But for most part, when you see a starting pitcher work incredibly slow, it's a sign that Rick, Ross, what you said, he doesn't really know. He's not convicted of what he wants to do out there on the
Yeah,
mound.
usually when you get runners on base, you slow down. You're trying to hold keep the runner close, give the catcher a chance to throw him out. That's when you probably slow it down a little bit. But I don't think they realize that working quick is a bonus for them and will cause a lot more damage to the for the hitter and the base runner. If there's one on
Rick,
base.
we've got
You make
about
a great point.
yeah.
You make a great point because, when a good pitching coach gets with these young guys, he'll say, you've got to work a little quicker. You got to work faster, faster, faster. And they teach them to work faster. Okay. Figure out in a situation what you want to throw, get up on the mound, boom. Ray Miller, George Bamberger, what did they preach? Work fast,
quick.
change speeds, and throw strikes.
Right.
And if you do that, it would seem to me you could throw the fastball right down the middle every time and have better ball games.
Oh yeah, and that's so it's so simple, but it's something that I know I used when I went into coaching and had a lot of success with guys. To do that, it just makes it so much simpler.
Hey, we are just about out of time, but Rick, I wanted to spend a minute with you or 2 minutes on another topic that's related to what you were talking about earlier about your real catchers working with your pitchers for the predictability of what they're going to receive. Are you a proponent? Do you like the idea of a year or two down the road, the electronic eye calling balls and strikes? I have a feeling you're not in favor of it, but isn't it much better that the pitcher and ultimately the hitter know that a strike on Monday night is going to be a strike on Friday night, that they don't have to guess along with a different umpire's strike zone? Your thoughts?
My thoughts are having an umpire to call that it brings in the human element, and the human element has been very colorful in baseball for as long as I can remember. I mean, a manager arguing with an umpire, gives everybody in the grandstands a sense of hope,
All right. So you've got a different angle on it.
It adds a color to the game that is never going to be changed by a computer. You might as well make it a video game, if you're going to be that way.
But the pitcher has only so many, as we found out with Steve Stone, he wrapped about 8 years into pitching for the Orioles for 3.5 years by throwing so many curveballs. So a pitcher only has so many bullets in a valuable arm. Why should 12 or 18 pitches be wasted out of Kevin Gausman's arm or Bundy's arm because the umpire didn't call something that should have been a strike? A strike.
Well, it takes away an element in the game that the fans look forward to.
All right.
And it's having an umpire, whether he be the person that's going to take all the boos or whether he's going to be that guy that's going to get a pitcher through a ball game. Those old time umpires he's a low ball umpire, he's a high ball umpire. Even the pitchers knew, like back in Palmer's early days, that certain umpires were low ball guys, and if they kept the ball down, they were gonna have a good ball game. So
how much of that was dictated by the difference between the American League umpires? They had the
Nationals.
They had the out chest chest protector, and the others, the National League umpires, could get down further because they had the smaller chest protector.
Yeah.
I saw that coming from Cincinnati to Baltimore, that you didn't get as many low strikes, but you got high strikes.
Yeah.
But learning how to keep the ball down and try to get ground balls, that was the thing that you wanted to do. And then you got them to chase the ball up, if you happen to go up and you stay down a lot, which was what you wanted to do.
Rick, now that we had you on, can we get you on like once a month on this?
Geez, more than that if you want to, you stingy bitch.
All right. Well, we're not
Wait,
paying you anyway.
You're getting
so,
big bucks. I was
you know,
going to tell him he was getting big bucks.
he could get some big bucks down the road. Let us reach out to you in a couple weeks. All right.
All right, you got it.
All right. Listen, I
Thanks,
really
fellas.
appreciate it.
Good
I
to see
appreciate
you,
it.
Ross.
Like,
I
how the
appreciate
wife, buddy?
Hey, you know what? You didn't even say anything about Rutschman's father, who I thought, did a pretty good job with him. Had done a
did a
very good job with
fantastic
him as
job
far
with
as
him. Yep.
working,
It's all there in the story. It takes a
Yep.
leader. It's about Adley Rutschman
Yep.
and the impact his passion for catching could have on the Orioles'
yeah.
long-term pitching
So his
staff.
father's done a good job with him.
All
yeah.
right. Orioles, by the way, it won't mean anything to somebody watching this tomorrow or 4 days from now. They beat the Kansas City Royals 6-1 this afternoon in Baltimore.
Oh,
Getaway.
okay. Oh,
All
how
right.
about that? All right.
For Rick Dempsey and Ross Grimsley, I'm Stan the Fan Charles. A reminder, we've been brought to you by the Costas Inn at 41. I'll tell you what we'll pay you, Rick, is whenever you come to Baltimore, you can go grab a steak or crab cake at the Costas Inn. Deal?
You got it. You
All
got
right.
it.
We've
All
been
right.
brought to you by the Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard. Ross and I will be back next Monday night, and our guest, I hope, is going to be Phil Rye, the Assistant General Manager of the Bowie Bay Sox. Again, for all of us, good night. We'll see you Thursday night with Rob Ambrose, Gary Stein, and I, Rob Ambrose. Thanks, Rick.
Hey, Dipper.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Bye.
See you guys later. Thank you.
All right. Bye.